Hello, everybody, and welcome to race number 5 qualifying. We are here at the Kansas Motor Speedway, the first race that we have that's not in Texas or below Texas. So, one of the true Midwestern tracks. As we can see, the 45 of Cesar Chavez is going to be making his way onto the racetrack. Cesar Chavez has not made a race yet, so this is his first attempt. This is another attempt by him to try and make a race. Behind him is Isaac Nichols, still below the cut line. However, he's getting above that. He's getting up there in the standings, so we may see him if he makes this race, which is a pretty high possibility for him. He will most likely go over the cut line, depending on what happens during the race. If he ends up getting wrecked out or something happens to the truck, I don't believe that he. I'm fairly certain that he will not make the cut. Bob Schlepke, the 334, coming back for another round. Still no sponsor on the 334 truck. However, it sounds like he is in the works with a car dealership in Des Moines, Iowa. So that could be his next sponsor. The car dealership is rumored to be Carl Performance, and he is actually looking forward to having at least some kind of sponsorship on that truck to at least get him some chance. However, we're talking about more sponsorship. Colin Denton with a new paint scheme, or semi-new paint scheme. They took a lot of the old decals off. They kept the number style, actually. They only changed it a little bit, and now it actually has a 19 on the roof. So, sponsored by the Kaw River Railroad. So definitely some good things for some of these unsponsored trucks. And as we see right now, the 13 of Isaac Nichols is your current leader. Second is now first is the 45. As we see more drivers coming out, Cesar Chavez will take over the top spot. And Bob Schlepke will now take over the top spot before Isaac Nichols moves back in. Only 10 drivers will make it from this race, from this qualifying session. So this is definitely some tight tolerances that they're pretty used to by this point. You can see Jack Porkins in the 07, currently sitting in 4th. He's one of those drivers who has made a race, but has only made one of them. Another driver who also gained a sponsor, Stuart Gratton in the 47, was involved in an incident at Circuit of the Americas and did not go past lap 1. So that was definitely something that he wants to correct. Patrick Smith, hoping the only BCR Mercedes truck actually to be in this qualifying session, so hoping that he can get a good run here, have all 4 of the BCR Mercedes trucks on track at the same time. Jack Porkins now fallen back to 7th. And Porkins has shown a little bit of a distaste for his qualifying efforts in the recent races, as he has not made a lot of the events right now. Zachary Fitzgerald, currently sitting in 13th, also made Circuit of the Americas, but ended up getting wrecked out in his first start this season. Has had a lot of problems with the 33 teams so far, and that team did not do very well last year, from what I can recall. Fernando Olieza in the 54. Currently top of the board with that last lap, a 32.421. So definitely the draft will come into play a little bit at this racetrack. But it's not going to be as prevalent. This is definitely not a drafting track. Igor Barretto's going to hold a few drivers up as he's going to pull it down into pit lane. Mike Monacy in the 04 not getting a very good lap in. Fraudemar Otz also struggling a little bit to get a decent lap. The 47 and the 19 are both well within, so definitely sponsorship playing out very well for those two. And Jack Porkins on the very cusp. We've actually seen, I was going to say both Jones Motorsports trucks are not currently in the race, but they are. We do have one. That was Olieza in the 54. He's at the top of the board right now. Isaac Nichols and his friend Stuart Gratton are running 2 and 3 right now on the board. Giovanni Barraza running 7th, so another good potential qualifying effort for the 92. Zachary Fitzwater sitting in 12th, and this could be very dire for him, as this could be the second race that he misses. And again, the draft does play into effect here, because if you have the draft with you, then you have a lot better speed going down the straightaways. Cesar Chavez currently sitting in 4th. As we're coming down to the last few minutes here. Otts currently still above 10th right now. Colin Denton in 6th place, so 32.648 for him. So another good qualifying effort so far. He's the only, I believe he's the only unsponsored driver that almost made every single race up to this point. But he did end up missing last week at Circuit of the Americas. And Jack Porkins still sitting on that 10th spot. A very, very, very difficult place to be. And he's hoping that this group behind him actually catches up to him, because that could be ideal for him, getting a little bit better lap time. Lucas Sky owning his own truck, still having a lot of trouble with qualifying efforts, so that 31 truck still has yet to make a single race, as a few drivers have. As we continue to move through the field here. And a lot of drivers whom we expect to see up at the top of the board. Patrick Smith in the 67. The last 3 spots are actually 67, 87, and 07, so Patrick Smith definitely has a decent position right now, but if some of these drivers end up making it through, it could be devastating for him, as BCR Mercedes definitely wants all their trucks to be in at least one of the events this season. The 543 of Otts being actually passed by Colin Denton right now, or attempted pass by Colin Denton. As we're coming down to the final few seconds left. Otts with a decent lap time, but is not going to be able to improve. Another driver who's really scrambling to try and get a good lap in is Alex Cage. A 32.819. Just 6 thousandths of a second off of the lap that Jack Porkins laid down. And I assume this lap is going to be slower. Yep, that's a 33.5. So that is definitely not going to be good enough. watching the board here as it ticks down. And it really hasn't changed for a while, so definitely some drivers really kind of breathing a sigh of relief at this point. So we have 30 more seconds as the last of these drivers will get their final laps in. But unless someone makes a pretty decent lap, another disappointing qualifying effort from Zachary Fitzwater. Definitely has some things to work out on that truck, as that's going to do it for qualifying. And this is how the results will be. Fernando Olieza topping the board for this first set of qualifying with a 32.421. Stuart Gratton, a nice job by him, 32.546. Isaac Nichols in third with a 32.578. Fourth is Cesar Chavez, his first event, so he's going to make his debut here at Kansas with a 32.582. Bob Schwepke with another good run and good qualifying effort to get himself into the race, 32.647. Right behind him in the 19 of Colin Denton, 32.648. So that is going to be a very close lap to Bob Schwepke. Giovanni Barraza also makes the race after missing last week. And then the final three spots will be filled by Patrick Smith, Derek Hamill, and Jack Porkins. That is going to wrap up your first set of qualifying. We're going to get in right now to the second set of qualifying to set up your race. And we're back for the second set of qualifying. This is going to be race qualifying, as we already have one truck coming out onto pit lane. That looks to be Bill Cox in the 22. So we're going to at least follow him around the racetrack. Bill Cox in the number 22 truck. One of the veteran drivers of this series. Behind him is the 4 of Russ Kamaski. And a lot of drivers coming out fairly early on to start getting their laps in while the track is still fresh. It's got some rubber down from the last set of qualifying, and so it's going to make the track a lot faster, and we're going to see some pretty quick lap times being set here as we're going to follow the 22 of Bill Cox around for this first lap. And this is obviously not going to be his fastest lap. The faster laps are definitely going to be when they start getting into sort of packs and are able to draft each other a little bit down the straightaways. So 33.411 and immediately gets topped by Russ Kamaski in the 4 truck. Daniel Bouchard had some problems during the race last week, and so he's going to try and make a better run out of this than it was. Currently qualified in 7th with a 33.232. I believe a couple of debuts for certain drivers. Cesar Chavez is one of those debut drivers. As we're going through the field here, I believe actually one truck is making their debut here, and that is Chavez. A couple of sponsors on previously unsponsored rides. Colin Denton with Kaw River Railroad and Westar Energy on the 47 of Stuart Gratton. So a couple of trucks with some good news for them, besides the fact that they made the race. As we look up Russ Komaski currently topping the board with a 32.590. Behind him is the 88 truck, whom we see a lot of the times up at the front on the oval tracks. Colin Denton currently sitting in 12th, so a decent lap from him could be coming up soon. 32.669, that's going to put him up to 4th. Daniel Bouchard in the 37, 32.569. And identical laps for the 13 and the 67. So Isaac Nichols and Patrick Smith running completely identical laps. Russ Komaski still up at the top of the board, though, as he is the points leader, so obviously he's got some pretty decent speed behind that truck. Derek Yarworth with a 32.771, that's going to get him to 14th position. Rick Witt, without any help around him, so he's definitely going to be struggling there. Eric Monaco, another driver who's been struggling with qualifying for a pretty decent amount of time, sitting at 30th right now, but he's within a pack of trucks, so he could be making some quicker laps here soon enough. Behind the 3 truck of Al Lagasse. So we're going to watch him for a little bit. Oh, up to 9th with that lap. 32.519. A quick lap for the 36 of Eric Monaco gets him fairly far up the leaderboard. Stuart Gratton sitting in 25th. Giovanni Barraza 35th right now, so he definitely wants a lot more speed out of that race truck. Derek Hamill with a 9th place qualifying effort. As we see some trucks on pit road getting service there. Tristan Allen in the 98, 32.662. His last lap and his best lap, up to 23rd on the board. And the 23 of Ryan Kendall, Malley Motorsports. Definitely a fast team, but Gatlin Downey in the 57 is going to take over the pole from Kendall in the 23, and Kendall's going to pull it down into pit lane. Bob Schwepka currently sitting in 35th. No help around him, so not going to be a very good lap for him. Kieran Pangborn in 28th. As we continue to go through the field, Isaac Nichols in the 13th, sitting at 19th right now. Colin Denton 29th, and not having as much of a good run that he wanted. Jason Kranz we can see sitting in 4th right now. Antonino Russo in 8th. But to see a BCR Mercedes truck up at the top, this is reminiscent of, I believe, Texas World, where BCR Mercedes actually ran qualifying up at the top, as they have this 57 and the 67 with fairly quick laps. Colin Denton struggling to make some decent time, as is Jack Porkins in the 07. Patrick Smith currently in 3rd. Jason Kranz right behind him in 4th. Tanya Breyer in 18th, finishing 2nd last week. And to be frank, qualifying doesn't really affect how you could perform in the race. It does affect how you could start the race and where you're at when certain incidences could happen at the beginning of the race, but it really doesn't delegate where you're going to end up finishing in the race by far. And Eric Monaco has made it quite a goal of his to have some decent qualifying efforts, as qualifying has really bit him in the side in the last few races. However, being passed by the 37 of Daniel Bouchard, who is a bit farther behind him. And again, Rick Witt coming out onto the track with nobody around to actually help him out. Steve Hickman, another driver whom we've seen have a little bit of a struggle so far this season, doing very well here right now. He was the Michigan race winner, and could be doing a little bit of a favor for himself as we're coming down to the last couple minutes here. Justin Zeidel sitting in 16th. Now back to 18th. Al Lagasse, 33rd on the board, so definitely a bad run for him right now. Stuart Gratton, 22nd, and Derek Hamill with a 13th place starting position, so good things happening for that team. Tristan Allen, 26th. And so obviously a few drivers not having the greatest starts. Kenny Washington and Russ Kamoski will be starting side by side with the way they run now. Nathan Hellman in the 17, Eli Bright in the 53. And glossing over that team a little bit, Jones Motorsports has not had the greatest season, but they've not had the worst. They're one of the more mediocre teams in which they don't run up at the top of the field, but they don't run in the back unless it's certain trucks. The 53 is definitely one of those drivers who runs respectable throughout the last 4 races, and so he's got himself a pretty decent ride right now, and could be doing a lot of good things from that ride. As far as is concerned with him right now, Derek Yarworth, whom we saw had some pretty quick laps early on in qualifying, has now been knocked back to 28th position. Bob Schwepke will be bringing around the tail end of the field at this point. Kieran Pangborn sitting in 30th. Nick Pericles in 11th right now. Antonino Russo in 9th. 8th, Kurt Trencherman. So Wade Enterprises definitely having a decent day. However, Gatlin Downey having the best day so far in qualifying, as he will most certainly nail the pole position unless someone is able to get a really good lap out. And I don't believe they will be able to, because the speeds have actually dropped significantly. So I believe this is how the field will be. And Rick Witt, abysmal qualifying, 35th for the 68 truck. And that's going to wrap up qualifying here. Gatlin Downey will nail the pole. Ryan Kendall gets 2nd place. Patrick Smith. So BCR Mercedes up at the top of the field right now as far as qualifying is concerned. A few names that we're used to seeing up at the front: Jason Kranz, Russ Kamoski, Kenny Washington, and Nathan Hellman, 4th through 7th. Other drivers: Steve Hickman, a pretty good qualifying run for him regarding the equipment that he's been having to deal with in the last few years. Eric Monaco, a 16th place finish, respectable for where he's been starting at. Justin Zeidel, 18th. Colin Denton, one of the few drivers who was unsponsored at the beginning of the season, in 15th right now. So that shows how a sponsor can really affect your ability to run fast. Tanya Breyer in 20th, finished 2nd last week. And Kieran Pangborn, the winner of last week, only starting now in 30th here at Kansas, and a couple of abysmal qualifying runs, especially from Rick Witt, a driver who we expect a lot out of, as well as Jennifer Power, who's shown that she does have some speed. Mitchell Henderson as well in the 88 truck has definitely got some work ahead of him, as well as a lot of these drivers 28th on back. But that is going to wrap up qualifying here for Kansas. We will see you for the American Ethanol Truck Series race here at Kansas. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all next time.